Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news, and happy Halloween. Alright, to kick things off, we're talking about PlayStation 4 emulation with Shad PS4. Now, we talked about Shad PS4 yesterday in regards to some new games that were compatible with the emulator. And today, Shad PS4 got a brand new release. Now, if you are interested in seeing those games in action, I would recommend checking out the Shad PS4 video here titled 8 Work-in-Progress Titles on Shad PS4 version 0.12.0. We talked about this one yesterday, and everything is timestamped. There's some big games like Persona 5, God of War 3, Dead or Alive 5, and even more. And today, the latest release for Shad PS4 now is version 0.12.0, which matches that video's title. Anyways, here, this is a pretty big release for Shad PS4, and this emulator keeps making progress in leaps and bounds. Now, there is something worth pointing out. They say although it was announced that QT builds were going to be removed from version 0.12.0 moving forward, they decided to release it for one last time. Starting from version 0.12.1, Shad PS4 will be CLI only, where CLI stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, or Command Line Interface, depending on how you wanted to interpret that. And they say they already have launchers available for when that goes command line interface only. And if you are interested in this one and wanted to learn more about it, like everything we talk about, links will be within the GitHub link in the bottom of the description below. I don't hide my sources. Moving on, and we're switching from Sony to Nintendo. And interestingly here, we talked about Nintendo yesterday, but not in this context. In yesterday's video, we talked about how Nintendo's anti-Palworld patent was rejected by Japan's patent office. Anyways, here, we're talking about Nintendo again, and this is in a little bit of a different light. It's being reported that Nintendo wins the lawsuit against the player who kept streaming pirated Switch games and taunted, "I can do this all day," the streamer known as Every Game Guru. Now, in my opinion here, Nintendo's victory in this lawsuit was not surprising at all, given the fact that Every Game Guru did not represent themselves in court. Nintendo was given a default judgment, and that default judgment was in the amount of $17,500. It could have been as high as $1 million, but it was only $17,500. Now, it's also worth noting here the judge refused to issue an injunction against the unnamed third parties or order the destruction of circumvention devices. So in my opinion here, the $17,500 order to pay for damages is probably the best case scenario for Every Game Guru, and they didn't even show up to court. If you are interested in learning more about it, again, like everything we talk about, links are in that GitHub link below. And listen to this paragraph here, because Every Game Guru mostly use emulation software available online. The judge ruled that Nintendo's request that he destroy all circumvention devices was rejected because the request was unclear and unreasonable. So let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. Do you think this could have been a lot worse for Every Game Guru? Do you think they actually could have won if they decided to fight Nintendo? And what do you think would have happened if they decided to fight Nintendo in court? But moving on from that, and next up, we're talking about Windows emulation on Android with Gamehub and Gamehub Lite. Now, for those who may be unaware, Gamehub Lite is an unofficial version of Gamehub. It is a privacy-focused modification of the Gamehub Android app. They say this project removes all tracking, authentication, and bloat while adding an automated patcher for future updates. And I believe this also can work offline. Anyways here, Gamehub Lite just got a brand new update. So that being said, Gamehub Lite v4 is the latest and greatest and final update, and that's worth pointing out here. So this is great news and not great news at all for the Gamehub Lite project. They say here, first of all, I would like to sincerely thank each and every one of you who has supported Gamehub Lite throughout its journey. Your feedback, trust, and encouragement have made this project possible. I'm deeply grateful for this amazing community for helping shape the Gamehub Lite into what it is today. That being said, V4 will be my final update. Due to time constraints and real-life commitments, I'll no longer be able to continue active development. However, and the big however here, talk about toying with people's emotions, the project will now be maintained by the developers at EmuReady. They will continue updating, optimizing, and supporting Gamehub Lite moving forward. So fortunately here, the project will continue on just under different developers. And taking a look at their improvements, they've removed dead telemetry files, cloud gaming components removed, including Xbox and PlayStation Remote Play. And also they've added in a battery percentage display. In terms of performance and stability, they say slow game loading has been fixed, dependency syncing issues are resolved. Black screen issue fixed, VPN no longer required. Additional bloat removed for smoother performance, and now works seamlessly for both local and Steam games. And on top of that, because yes, there's even more, under new integrations, they say emulation front-end integration, local and Steam. They've added initial support for emulation front ends. And there's even more stuff in here, like language support, bug fixes, and even more. And speaking about improvements and even more, next up we're talking about multiple arcade machine emulation and, well, MAME. And MAME just released monthly version 0.282, and there's a whole lot of stuff in here. So pretty much like every single month, there's a whole bunch of fixes, improvements, and even more. MAME just keeps getting better and better. In fact, they say way better in terms of Hyper Neo Geo 64 sound. On top of that, they say Sega Model 2 emulation is noticeably better again, with improved graphics and a number of logic bugs fixed. Speaking of 3D graphics, the severe graphical issues plaguing ARM users playing Namco System 22 games have been corrected, and Apple II users can enjoy more accurate emulation. I mean, there is a whole lot of stuff in here. This is absolutely amazing for MAME. Next up, we're switching from amazing to something I would argue is not amazing at all, at least not for emulation, and we're talking about HarmonyOS. If you're a fan of Huawei and HarmonyOS, you might not like this news segment. Geeker1 has a brand new video talking about HarmonyOS. So at around 25 minutes in this video, give or take, Geeker1 points out, and HarmonyOS is still pretty early on in terms of its overall development lifecycle, but JIT and Harmony are not necessarily a match made in heaven, and that may restrict emulation compatibility and performance. Maybe that'll change moving forward, but maybe it won't. Who knows? I am curious to see what happens with HarmonyOS moving forward, but at this point in time, I would not recommend it at all, especially not for emulation. And speaking about news you may or may not be excited about, next up we're talking about Halo, and if you're a fan of Halo, you may or may not be excited about this one. It's being reported, or rumored rather, that Halo 2 and Halo 3 are being remade. They will have sprint, no multiplayer, only campaign, and they will be full remakes. And that multiplayer is going to be Halo 7. Now, honestly, factoring in Halo Campaign Evolved, I'm not at all surprised about this one. I'm a little bit more excited about Halo 2 than I would be about Halo 3, but at the same time, the trilogy, the original trilogy, I think are amazing games. Did they need remakes? I don't really think so, but at the same time, let me know your thoughts. And speaking about rumors, and if I had a nickel for every time I've seen a Half-Life 3 rumor, I would be pretty rich. I'd have more than just a couple of nickels, more than just a handful. I'd have a whole lot of them. Anyways, the latest and greatest regarding Half-3 rumors is that a trailer is in production. Now, I don't know about you, and I'm not being a naysayer here because sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's a whole lot of smoke here. But at the same time, I'll believe it when I see it. We have seen so many Half-Life 3 rumors over the years that I don't want to say I'm sick of it, but I mean, we've seen a whole lot. And there's even rumors out there that Half-Life 3 is playable from beginning to end. A bunch of data mines, a bunch of everything. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below, but I'm not holding my breath. I'd be excited about it. Heck yeah, but at the same time, I'm really not holding my breath. I'll treat it as a pleasant surprise. And speaking about surprises, next up, we're talking about the exact opposite of that. No surprise, and absolutely no surprise. It's being reported that after 1 year, Pokemon TCG has made $1.3 billion. Feel free to check out the Pocket Gamer article for more information on the matter. I will point out, looking at the information here, it does seem as if spending is going down on the game. So they do have a graph here for year one player spending in Pokemon TCG Pocket. And while it did start out pretty darn strong in November of 2024, it has significantly declined since then, still making a whole ton in my opinion though. And speaking about opposites, next up we're switching from games making a whole lot of money to games maybe making no money. And it's being reported that Amazon's Lord of the Rings MMO may have been canceled. The source of this information is from LinkedIn in a now deleted post from a former developer. And they say, this morning I was part of the layoffs at Amazon Games alongside my incredibly talented peers on New World and our fledgling Lord of the Rings game. Y'all would have loved it. It's always tough to see such a strong team go through something like this. I've been lucky to work with some of the most skilled, creative, and kind developers I've ever met here. Again, we're going to have to wait and see as to what happens here, but a lot of people have been saying that this game may be canceled because of that now deleted post. Who knows? Maybe the person worded it incorrectly, or maybe they did word it correctly, and that's why Amazon probably asked them to take it down. Who knows? Let me know your thoughts. And speaking about opposites again, kinda, this time going from arguably no money to arguably no money and also a lot of money. We're talking about Animal Crossing, and Animal Crossing New Horizons has a brand new announcement trailer on YouTube that I would recommend checking out if you're interested in the game. First and foremost, it's getting a free update to version 3.0. Secondly, there is a small paid update or paid upgrade to the Nintendo Switch 2 version. And I think the paid upgrade is around $5. The Switch 2 version of the game will be available on January 15th, 2026. And I think a lot of people are going to be looking forward to it. There's a whole lot of new stuff in this game, including a lot of Zelda stuff. On top of that, there's going to be various collaborations, like with Lego, and also a way to play retro games right in Animal Crossing. Let me know your thoughts about this one, but if you're an Animal Crossing fan, I think this might be extremely exciting. And if you're not an Animal Crossing fan, this might get you involved in the game. I mean, I'm not really a huge Animal Crossing fan, but this stuff does look pretty interesting. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below, and I would say this is a huge win for the Animal Crossing series. And speaking about retro games, next up we're talking about the Street Racer Collection. And this just popped up on Steam. Unfortunately, I don't have a price or a release date just yet. But the collection is available to be wishlisted. There's a total of 4 games in this collection: the SNES version of the game, Mega Drive, MS-DOS, and Game Boy versions of the game. Up to 27 unique tracks, 8 cartoon characters, and a whole bunch of different modes. Well, 4 modes in total: practice, head-to-head, championship, rumble mode, and soccer mode. That's 5 modes. Now, this is being pushed out by QUbyte, and QUbyte had a pretty big announcement on Twitter the other day, and they say here PlayStation 1 games are coming to the QUbyte emulation engine. Next up, we're switching to Linux and talking about arguably one of my favorite Linux distributions, and that's Bazzite. And Bazzite has just published their fall blog here called the Fall Update. They talk about Fedora 43, the Xbox Ally, so the Ally X and Ally, and the Lenovo Legion Go 2 and NVIDIA GTX. So the big thing here, or one of the big things, because there's a lot of big things in this post, but one of the big things here is that they brought Bazzite up to Fedora 43. We talked about Fedora 43's launch earlier this week. On top of that, they've added support for the Xbox Ally and the Xbox Ally X, which you may or may not know is currently powering this YouTube channel. I'm using it as a PC, and I'm doing my recording, editing, and posting from it. Now, interestingly here, it appears that Bazzite coordinated with AMD to help make this possible. And in terms of the Ally X, it does look like there's an issue with the volume over 80%. Additionally, there's stuff for the Lenovo Legion Go 2. They've added support for the One X Player X1 Air and even more. This is a pretty darn big update. And speaking about Linux distributions I like, next up we're talking about Pop! OS. And it's been announced that Pop! OS 24.04 LTS and Cosmic Epic 1 will be released December 11th, 2025. Furthermore, Carl says future Pop! OS releases starting with Pop! OS 26.04 LTS will now align with the Ubuntu LTS release timing, approximately 2 weeks after the Ubuntu release date. And continuing to talk about Linux, and this is a little bit more niche here, but if you've got a Razer device and you use Linux, you might be excited about this. OpenRazer just got a brand new update. For those who may not be aware, it's an open source driver and user space daemon to control Razer lighting and other features in Linux. So at the time of filming, OpenRazer version 3.11.0 is the latest and greatest update. And with this update, they've added support for a whole lot more devices, including the 2025 edition of the Razer Blade 16, the ProClick V2 Vertical Edition, the Firefly V2 Pro, the Tomahawk ATX, the Huntsman V3 Pro TKL, and even more. And speaking about RGB, next up we're switching from Razer to ASUS and talking about the first ever ROG AI gaming router. And taking a look at this, it's not cheap at all. It starts at $899. And, well, it boasts a whole lot of stuff, and a whole lot of stuff I personally don't even think I'd ever need. Now, I'm not knocking this product at all. I mean, it's got a whole lot going for it. It's got 4 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of storage, it's got RGB, it's got 8 different antennas, and it supports Wi-Fi 7. But at the same time, for basically $900, I mean, that is a whole lot of money. Feel free to check out the Tom's Hardware article for more information on it, including a link to where it's available over on Newegg. I think this has a whole lot more than most people would ever even need. but I guess it reduces latency by up to 34%. But let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. And if you've got one of these, let me know your thoughts about it in the comments below. I personally would just rather spend the money to run a cable from my router to my PC and just not worry about latency at all. And in the event that I couldn't, I would just put a router as close as possible to my PC and just be happy with that. Could be wrong. Maybe that's a hot take, but I don't think so. Next up, we're switching from ROG to LRG and talking about limited run games in their 2025 10-year anniversary special. LRG 3 was just posted to YouTube the other day. Now, unfortunately, the video is not timestamped, but at the same time here, Gamehatsu has you covered if you're looking for every single thing that was announced, and they even include hyperlinks for it. And there is quite a bit of stuff in there. I would say that the majority of titles announced will be hitting the PS5 and Switch, with a number of them also hitting Xbox and PC, but the huge majority here is PS5 and Switch. And speaking about stuff on Gamehatsu, next up we're talking about Shantae 7. And Shantae 7, if you're a fan of the Shantae series, you might like this. It's being reported that Shantae 7 is now in development. Unfortunately, we don't have any other news to go on. We've got no other information, no screenshots, nothing. Just we won't have anything to share in a while. That's literally it. So if you're a fan of the Shantae series, well, this might be good news for you. And speaking about good news and stuff in development, last up here, we're talking about Max Payne 1 and 2 remakes. If you were unaware about the remakes, this might be good news for you in and of itself, but if you were aware about them, it seems that progress is going very well on them, and the remake might be available sooner than you think. The full report is up on The Gamer, and they're saying here that the games are hitting their milestones, which means it might release in 2026. I think that would be huge, and I think a lot of people would be excited about that, and I think a lot of people would be experiencing Max Payne for the first time, potentially. Either way here, progress looks really, really good. Now, there is one catch here, and this is kind of a big catch. I guess the release date is determined by Rockstar, and GTA 6 is also releasing next year. So I'm wondering, and a lot of people are wondering, if this will get pushed to 2027 just to avoid any conflict with GTA 6. Let me know your thoughts. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and the legendary one, Fluff, who's dressed up like a pumpkin. I had to turn off the green screen so you could see her little stem there. We talked about a bunch today. Feel free to discuss anything we talked about in the comments below. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.